flag up for us? We're going to start, as we start
Absolutely.
all the meetings, with the flag. So as soon as Josh gets the flag up, we'll start the flag. Okay. There we go. We got it. So I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
United
America
States of America,
and to,
and to the republic for which
the
it stands,
republic to which it stands, one nation, under God,
under God.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we'll just give it a moment of silence for all of our first responders, all of our medical, and everybody that's out there trying to get through this COVID stuff. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. I've got just a few quick announcements. We haven't quite decided when we're going to do the September, if we're going to do a face-to-face or a virtual meeting for September. The board's decided to make a decision around August the 20th. Hopefully, I'm really pushing for a face-to-face, but there's a lot of people that are out there that are not quite ready to do a face-to-face, and that's fine. So we'll try to do a face-to-face and still do a virtual meeting also, which might be helpful for the people that are not willing to do the face-to-face yet. Also, we have been awarded the tags the special tags that we had tried to get. The first one is the waterfowl, and the auction is underway. That's going to be over on August the 24th. Right now, our bid is $450. It's a silent auction. So if you know anybody that's interested in the waterfowl tag, to try to encourage them to bid on it and for the chance to win it. Right now, the bid, like I said, is at 420. I'm sorry, 450, and every bid is a $25 increase. We will
People can go right to the website to bid and to check on the most recent bid.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Tim. There's a draw we're going to do the drawing for the special raffle in September. And when we do the raffle for September, we'll also do a silent auction. That's part of our new gaming license requirements. When we do a raffle, we have to do a silent auction in regards to that. So we don't know yet what we're going to do. We're still talking about it. We're talking maybe doing a raffle for a box of flies. Somebody makes flies, or we're just trying to decide what we're going to do there. We'll still have the door prize at the end today, and there's four prizes that you can win. One of them is a $50 Delmar Hopkins gift certificate, which Ted Nicholson from Delmar Hopkins is our speaker tonight. I think that's all I have pretty much, other than I'm really getting excited about the Wyoming trip. That's going to be in a couple days, so can't wait to share all the pictures and stuff from that trip. So I think I'm finished with all of my announcements. I'm going to go ahead and turn everything over to Ted. So Ted, go ahead and this is Ted Nichols. He's from Delmar Hopkins, and go ahead and take it away.
Okay, cool. Am I good on the audio? Yes.
You are.
All right, sweet. Thanks for reaching out to me to set this up. I really appreciate the opportunity, even though it's a little unconventional to chat with you all. When you guys reached out to set this up, I know we talked about how there is a bunch of new members in NKFF, which is awesome to hear. And there was a lot of people that were unfamiliar with Delamere and Hopkins and what we do, what we offer, etc. So what I wanted to do was give you guys a little presentation. One, talk about who I am at the shop, so I'm not a stranger when you come in, and just give some general information about the shop and what we offer outside, and cover some, real general. I'll highlight some local fishing opportunities in the area. Some of you who have heard me talk before may have seen a few of these things that I've highlighted before at some of my other talks that I've done. And then I'll run through my current top 5 smallmouth flies that I like right now, and then I'll open it up at the end for Q&A for you all. So yeah, let's get into it. First things first, kind of about me. I was born and raised here in Cincinnati, Ohio, and went to school up in Michigan. Grew up spin fishing a lot with my dad. And when I moved up to Michigan to go to college, I started getting a fly rod in my hand. And now I'm 31 years old. And that was probably when I was about 18 that I picked up my first fly rod. And I haven't really touched spinning gear much since, just fallen in love with fly fishing. I moved back to Cincinnati about 8 years ago, and I've been working at D&H for 5 now. I'm the store manager there, and I do all of the instructing and guiding for the shop as well. I love targeting any species of fish on a fly rod. I don't really care what it is. I just love fly fishing. But my love is for saltwater fly fishing. I wish it wasn't so expensive because I would love to do it all the time. But I try and do about 2 trips a year with those, and I'll talk about that later. I also, my goal is to, educate people on fly fishing as well as make it approachable and very user friendly for people getting into the sport. So yeah, let's dive in here. So first off, we'll talk about the shop. The shop's located on Hyde Park Square. For those of you who've never been there, we're right next to the graders on the square there. Yeah, I guess our big thing is we're a full service fly shop, which is really cool. We offer a lot of great different products in the shop. We've been there for 26 years now, which is insane that we've been around for that long. We also specialize in upland hunting gear. So fly fishing and upland hunting gear are kind of our niches that we cater to. And then we also offer a lot of great other apparel brands at the shop. We stock Barber, Filson, Sims, etc. for apparel. And then for fly rods there, you can see the picture on the left. That's our fly rod wall today. I took that picture today, actually, so that's pretty current. And we've been super busy, so the rod wall is a little more empty than it typically is. And then in the center there is our tying materials area. We carry a vast selection of tying materials. And if you ever come into the shop and you're not seeing something you like, please just grab one of the employees and ask us to order it for you. We're happy to do that. It's not a problem at all. Or if you think we should be carrying something we're not, we're always open for suggestions. I try and stay on top of new stuff, but sometimes I do miss something. And if someone brings it to my attention, it's greatly appreciated. So we stock Hairline and Wapsi products, so we have access to any of those catalogs for ordering products. Our fly rods, we do Sage, Scott, St. Croix, Thomas and Thomas, Winston, and Reddington. And then we also offer that picture on the right there, a wide range of flies. We have, hundreds of different patterns. Same thing there. If we don't have something, please just bring it to our attention. We're happy to get stuff in. We try and have a fair representation of what people are looking for, but there's a lot of flies to choose from, so we may have some holes that we're unaware of there. As far as our fly reel selection, we offer Sage, Lamson, Hatch, Able, Ross for our fly reels. So we have a decent selection there, and we can get anything in from them. Our fly reels that we stock at the shop are going to be, fly lines are going to be Rio and Scientific Anglers. So those are 2 big names in the fly line industry, and we try and carry a large selection of those. And we offer a lot of leaders and tippet as well from Rio. So we can pretty much get you outfitted for just about any excursion you're going on, fly fishing related, and get you geared up with your appropriate gear regarding waders, boots, all of that stuff. So if you've never been in the shop before, do yourself a favor and swing on in and say hey and check it out. It's a pretty cool store. Like I said, whatever you need, we'll get for you if we don't have it. So yeah, that's about the physical building. Next, we also offer a lot of stuff outside of the store. which many people may not know about. I just want to quick go over some things that we do outside of the store. We offer beginner fly fishing schools. I know that you guys as a club offer a lot of beginner programs for people, which is awesome. But just in case people are wondering, or maybe they want to get in on a class with some of our customers, I offer beginners fly fishing schools at the store. It just gives any student who comes out of our fly fishing school has a solid foundation for fly fishing and can walk out if they have a fly rod in their hand and confidently go out and try and catch fish. We also provide all the gear for the day. The cost for that is $175 for the day. Yeah. We also offer private casting lessons. Probably one of our more popular options is we have a lot of customers getting ready for trips and want to tune up. Maybe they haven't cast a fly rod in a while and just need to get out and have someone help them with something. Or if you notice that you're developing some weird bad habits on the stream, I'm happy to help with that as well. Or if you need to work on something in particular, like if you want to learn the double haul for saltwater fly fishing, it can literally be whatever you want for that experience. It's up to you and me. Another fun thing I do that a lot of people don't know about is I offer guide trips locally. And I'll talk about what waters I fish locally here. But our guide trips run with 2 anglers per guide, and the cost is $300 for the single angler and $150 for an additional angler. I provide lunch, gear, and flies. You're always welcome to bring your own stuff on any of these excursions that we do. And if for some reason it's not getting the job done, you're welcome to grab some of my own equipment. So here's a couple of the options we offer for guide trips. We offer guide trips on the Little Miami. This is our closest water to the fly shop physically. I know a lot of you guys are in Northern Kentucky, but it's a fun one because it is kind of what I would consider my home water. I like to fish the Little Miami a lot, and the guide trip there is a great day to go out and catch some smallmouth. I will say fishing can be inconsistent on the Little Miami, and I kind of don't really have a rhyme or reason for that. So if you do hit a good day, it can be really good. It's always surprising, like that fish on the right. Pretty uneventful day other than that big fish, but it's like, we'll take that. It was a great fish. It's an 18-inch long smallmouth. So yeah, you never really know what you're going to get on the Little Miami any given day. Even if you have great conditions, it's always kind of a crapshoot on what's going to happen. So that's a fun one just because it's our local fishery. And if you're ever looking to gain a little knowledge on the Little Miami, a guide trip is a great way to go on that. Just kind of figure out the stream, or as I call it, cracking the code for the stream. Sometimes that's all it really takes to get going and be productive on the water. Let's see here. Oh, I think I just, okay. Next one, this is my personal favorite water locally, is the Whitewater River. That's over in Indiana. So it starts north of Connorsville and then flows into the GMR and then quickly hits the Ohio. It's a great smallmouth stream. It's very consistent, which is what I like for guide trips, getting people out, getting them on fish. It's a very, very consistent smallmouth stream. You know, if we get the right conditions over there, you're going to catch fish. That's what's great about it. If you can cast pretty far, you have a great chance of encountering what I consider a trophy smallmouth, that being in the 18 to 20 inch range, 20 inch being a really, really good prize fish. So if you have pretty good casting ability, you have a chance at targeting some bigger fish over on that stream. And typically on let me go back here, on the Little Miami trip and the Whitewater trip, we're usually using a canoe as our mode of transportation to cover water, fishing a little bit out of the canoe, and then also getting out and fishing certain spots that look good for what we're trying to do for the day. Right. Next, I don't get a whole lot of requests for this, but I have done several of these, is a Brookville Tailwater guide trip. I like fishing over there a lot. I primarily spend most of my time over there during the winter time because I'm busy chasing smallmouth in the spring, summer, and fall months. If you're ever interested in learning how to trout fish, it is probably one of our better local options other than the Mad River in the immediate Cincinnati area. It's all walking weight over there. So if you ever were interested, you definitely would want to grab a pair of boots because it is really, really slippery over there. And get a pair of waders too because it can be chilly. So, let's see. Next thing, another fun thing. Oh, that accelerated on me. Another fun thing we like to do at the shop is host trips. So this is kind of, I know the club NKFF does some trips, destination trips as well. We do a couple of destination trips every year. I'll talk about the ones that I personally do for the shop, and that's Bahamas and Belize. And then Mark usually runs a Montana trip when he can. So yeah, let's quick talk about these really quick. So the first one we'll talk about is Belize. I just have a kind of a collage of pictures from the trip there. That top left one, this looks pretty nice right about now, actually. But we can't travel there. I had to cancel my trip for this year, actually, so because of COVID. That's their pool facility up there. The lodge is awesome that we stay at. The thing I tell people about this trip, if you ever wanted to do saltwater and you're kind of nervous to get into it, the Belize trip is a great place to start. And the lodge we stayed at is El Pescador. They do a great job of catering to beginner saltwater fly anglers. I can't understate that enough that we went down there and some of my customers, it was their first trip, and they were just taken care of so well by the staff and the guides. Especially the guides really worked with them. And if you needed a bunch of hand holding, they were there to do it for you, teach you how to cast. And the bonefish down there, that bottom middle picture, that's a bonefish there, if any of you are unfamiliar. They're typically a little bit smaller than some of the other bonefish you might see, like say in the Bahamas on the other trip I do. But the nice thing about these fish is that in the Belize is that they form really big schools and they're what we consider juvenile bonefish. So they're very forgiving and targetable with a fly rod, especially for beginners. I think that's just a blast to go down there and catch your first saltwater fly fish or fish on a fly rod and just get going with that. And you can do that all day. And then if you want to step up your game, there's great permit and tarpon fishing in the area as well. I didn't really understand how many permit there were. And for those of you who don't know what a permit is, I'm holding one in the top right. Permit are extremely hard to catch, and you take whatever you can get. So that's a dinner plate size one there, but the guide was screaming and jumping, and I was too. You take what you can get. It's a permit is a permit. You also have great tarpon population down there. So if you're an experienced saltwater fly angler, you can really push your limits and target those fish. And we saw permit every single day, which was insane. And that middle picture on the top, there's all these cool little mangrove mazes that they sneak the boat through. It's literally like going through a corn maze. I would never want to get lost there. So if you're ever interested in talking more about Belize and you want to do your first saltwater fly trip, this is a great place to go. For people who are always wondering if they have a significant other that's not into fly fishing, this is a great trip for you both to go on because there's so much to do for someone that's not fly fishing. You know, a lot of these trips that you go on, if you're not fishing, you're probably not having that much fun because it's just you're going very specific locations to do that activity. You can hang out at the pool if you're not fishing all day. There's tons of day trips, snorkeling, ruin tours, all sorts of stuff. They have a massage therapist on site. So it's a really fun place to go with your significant other, even if they're not fishing, because typically you're out the door 4:30 or 5, and you're back by 2 o'clock with plenty of time to spend with them for the rest of the day. So you don't feel too bad about leaving them during the day. Let's see here. Next one, Bahamas. I take people down to Andros Island in the Bahamas. this kind of holds a sweet spot in my heart because this is actually where I learned how to saltwater fly fish. So I absolutely love it down there. This is probably a trip that you'd want to do with a little more experience with your casting as well as saltwater fly fishing. This location is incredibly challenging due to one, it's usually pretty windy all the time, and the bonefish are older there and much bigger. You'll notice that middle right picture, a lady that I took down there, she's one of my clients. She caught that bonefish, and that is a trophy bonefish on this last trip. You'll probably never see a bonefish like that again in your life, but they're big down there and they're very challenging to catch. So your saltwater game needs to be pretty up to snuff to fish down there, but the lure of the location is those big fish. And they also offer offshore fly fishing options. So that top right photo there, you can go offshore and actually catch mahi mahi on the fly and tuna, and bring them back to the lodge at night, and they'll cook them up for everybody to eat for dinner, which is really, really cool. The other thing I love about Andros is it's super, super remote. So if you're looking for a getaway where you kind of feel like you're almost on another planet, this is the place to go. You go on to, so 3/4 of the island is national park down there. And so there's no development at all. And it's the biggest island in the Bahamas chain of islands. So you can go onto the west side of the island with your boat, and you will not see a building, and typically you will not see a boat. So it is really bizarre to have that situation with an area with such good fly fishing that you're not seeing a lot of people. And it is truly like what I would say a wilderness experience down there. And then you do get occasional tarpon. I caught a tarpon down there. It's not a guaranteed thing. You may see one every once in a while, but you're definitely not going down there for the great tarpon fishing. You're going down there for the big bonefish that you can find. So yeah, that's another fun thing that the shop offers. Once again, if you have any questions on this place, just feel free to ask me any questions whenever. All right, so I know you all asked me to kind of highlight some local fishing options in the area. So I just want to cover some of those options for you guys and kind of talk about different things that you can get into fishing locally. So we'll hop into that here. All right, so once again, our local water to the shop is the Little Miami River. So this is the closest river to my house. I live over in Madisonville, so I spend a lot of time on this river. First off, what times of the year can you fish the Little Miami? I mean, this may be common knowledge to some people, but I get asked this a lot. Spring, summer, and fall are your times to fish the Little Miami. You can go out and fish in the winter months. I don't do it a lot because it's usually pretty unproductive. You know, your species that you're running into on the Little Miami are vast, but you know, like 3 of what I would say kind of the more fun species to target on a fly rod on a Little Miami are smallmouth bass, carp, and hybrid striped bass. Smallmouth, you're gonna find typically a healthier population on like the northern stretches of the Little Miami. So I use kind of like Milford as my marking point, and then anywhere like upstream of there, you typically start to see more smallmouth, especially once you get up into like the Fort Ancient and Morrow area. The river just becomes a lot more suitable for smallmouth, I find, with like a lot more rock structure, water clarity. The lower Little Miami has a lot more of just like slow, slack water, and just not as frequent moving water and riffles and structure as you get when you get further up in the system. Another fun thing to target is carp. They're everywhere on the Little Miami. If you're going to try and chase these fish, I recommend trying to find a flat on the river. So a flat is just a shallow area of water that can be anywhere between 6 inches to 4 feet deep, and look for fish actually feeding on the bottom, because that's really the only time that you're going to get those fish to eat is when you are seeing them feeding on the bottom, they're in feed mode, so you can throw a crawdad pattern in front of their face, and you want to get it pretty dang close to their face. I always use the reference of a dinner plate size target area, because you want to get their attention, but you don't want to hit them on the head. So give them a little lead, and just keep an eye on that fly and keep an eye on where that carp is. And if it moves over and it kind of think that might be eating your fly, go ahead and try and set the hook. It's hard to tell when they're eating, especially if they're in muddy areas, because they're going to be kicking up a lot of mud. Just kind of keep your eye on that. Probably the most fun and unique thing on like our little Miami River system is hybrid striped bass. So this is probably one of the more common questions I get, is how to catch these fish when they're there. It is always challenging how to address these questions on these fish, because one, it's pretty inconsistent fishing. I tell people, if they're willing to commit sunrise for like 2 weeks straight every morning, you probably will catch one at some point. So you're putting a lot of time on these fish. There are a couple guys who fish pretty hard for them locally. They are fishing a lot to target these fish. So they come up both from the Ohio River, and they also are coming out of East Fork Dam over at East Fork Lake. So they get washed out of spillway. They're stocked fish in our systems. They're incredibly fun to catch on a fly rod, because they're very strong and very powerful fish. So what I tell people, once they figure out where they are, and they're going to be on the lower portion of the Little Miami. So I say from Terrace Park down to the mouth of the Ohio, that's where those fish are going to be. And you want to find fast moving water where you look at the water, and if you say, I probably wouldn't be able to walk through that, that's usually good hybrid water. They like fast water. They run up into the fast water to chase shad and eat them. And then also, what time of day is good to target hybrid striped bass? You're looking at your sunrise and sunset windows for 80% of your catches on these fish. You will get the occasional midday bite with these fish, but it does not happen often. So what you're looking for is 3 hours in the morning. You get there an hour before sunrise, fish sunrise, and then an hour after sunrise or so. Same thing with sunset. You want to get there like an hour before sunset, and then fish after the sunset. Those fish just get way more active those times of the day. And for that style of fishing, I use, down at the bottom there, I wrote in my preferred leaders for the Little Miami. The reason why you're seeing a 25-pound leader is I usually just fish like an intermediate fly line with just straight 25-pound fluorocarbon coming off the tip of the fly line. And what I do is I'll usually use like a 4-foot section. So I just keep it really simple for that style of fishing. And when you hook the fish, you can just force them in. They're extremely strong, and they love to go into log jams. So using that 25-pound, you're not worried about breaking fish off, and you can just manhandle them. Good water levels on the Little Miami. I use the USGS gauge, typically in Milford, is my go-to to look at. And for those of you who are not familiar with the USGS gauges, they quickly become your best friend locally when you're looking at water levels and flows. So if you just Google USGS Little Miami Milford, it's going to pull up a gauge there, and you want to look at the CFS of that gauge. Typically anything at 800 or below, I would consider good fishing levels. What you don't want to see is a big spike coming off those gauges, a big vertical spike. We get these just downpours around here and everything goes straight up. You don't want to be fishing that while it's going up or while it's peaking. You want to give it a few days to come down on the back end so that water clears up, because the water clarity makes a big difference, especially on the Little Miami. If it's chocolate milk, you're wasting your time. You got to have some clarity so this fish can see your flies. What flies I like to use on the Little Miami? I typically fish a lot of bait fish patterns. a lot of customers fish crawdad patterns. I personally just don't fish a lot of crawdad patterns. I don't like that style of kind of ticking the bottom and slow retrieval, like a more active fly. So I use a lot of bait fish flies. Poppers were really well in the summertime on the Little Miami. I always try top water first when I get on the water, and if it's not happening, I switch over. But if it's going and it's going, and it's good to just keep that popper on because you can't beat top water eats. My preferred rod weight for the Little Miami is a 9-foot 7 weight. That covers all of your bases for your striped bass fishing, your carp fishing, and your smallmouth fishing. You can target all three of those species with a 9-foot 7 weight. And preferred leaders, that changes on the situation. For most of my smallmouth fishing on the Little Miami, I typically will use a 7-foot 15-pound leader for streamer fishing. And then for my top water work, I'll usually use a 10-foot 12-pound leader, and I'll make sure that's always monofilament to keep that fly floating high. For poppers, terrestrials, whatever you have it for smallmouth, I like that longer leader to get out a little further, especially in like super clear water. That extra long leader really, really helps. So that's Little Miami there for you. And this is one that a lot of you are familiar with in the club, is the Elkhorn Creek down in Kentucky there. Once again, you're going to notice it's a warm water stream. So spring, summer, and fall are going to be your best windows to fish down there. Real quick, I'll just cover something. So I'll talk about the hybrid striped bass on the Little Miami here. Sorry to jump back. So the top left photo there, you're going to notice that I'm wearing waders and a jacket. That was like super, super early spring. It was really cold that day, but the fish will run up in the spring to get into the system because they start chasing the bait fish that are coming out of the Ohio. And they stay in all through the summer and then all the way through the fall, and then they move back out of the system. So a lot of people think it's just a spring thing. They're in there all summer. That bottom right one was caught at end of July, almost the same time last year. So just keep that in mind when you're targeting these fish, that they're in there from spring, summer, and fall. And don't get hung up on the idea that it's just a springtime fishery. So they'll come up in the system, and they're just running up and down the river system there in between Terrace Park and the mouth of the Ohio. They're just chasing food. There are no good hybrid holes per se because they don't sit still. They're moving all over the place. So you just want to try and pick a good spot and hope that they come through that given day. Or if you set aside 2 weeks straight of every morning, your odds are pretty good that at some point in one of those mornings, those fish are going to be there or moving through. So back to the yes.
Ted, I have somebody that has a question.
Yeah.
Do you use both floating and sinking fly lines?
So what fly lines do I use?
Do you use both floating and sink lines?
Yes, I do. So typically, if I'm going out all day, I have a floating line rigged for top water, and then I also have either an intermediate and sinking or both of those rigged up to target different sections of the water column. If you don't have that flexibility of having 3 different rods rigged at once, which I totally get, you can do different spools for your reels to get different lines on there. But I absolutely do use sinking almost every time I'm out to fish streamers. So yeah, thank you for that question. Okay. Oh, shoot. Elkhorn Creek. Yeah, this one's familiar to you all. Spring, summer, and fall for the Elkhorn, just like the Little Miami, it's a warm water fishery. Species there that a lot of people chase are smallmouth bass and carp. If you wanted to get good at carp fishing, the Elkhorn would be a heck of a place to do it because there's so many carp down there. I keep telling myself that I need to not bring down any smallmouth stuff and just do carp down there for a day because I'm always astounded at the population of carp in that river system. The water level that we like to use at the shop, and I know my boss Mark fishes there a lot. That's like his go-to spot. I don't fish down there a whole lot. Like the Whitewater is my favorite stream, but he says usually about 3 feet and below is typically good, and I would agree with that. you all may have something different there, but once again, I look at that USGS gauge to gauge that it's been super low this summer for at least for a while there. The temps, I was shocked, we're reaching like 90 degrees in that stream every day, and that's not great. And the water flow is like at I think like 40 CFS. I've never seen it that low. So hopefully we got some rain down there recently. Down there, the flies I like to use, same thing for the Little Miami. Bait fish, crawdad patterns, and poppers. Crawdad patterns work really well down there. Once again, uh, you want to look around when you're fishing and see what's going on. Is there a lot of bait fish? Is there a lot of crawdads in the creek, in the stream? The Elkhorn has a ton of crawdads, so fish are oriented and ready for that opportunity to eat that. So they work great down there. Also, a lot of really great popper fishing down there as well. Down there, I prefer, honestly, if I was fishing a rod, I'd probably drop down to a 6 weight down there, just because you can throw a little bit lighter flies down there, and also the creek itself is a little bit smaller than say some of the stretch of the Little Miami, so you don't have to reach out quite as far. Along with the Whitewater is a lot bigger water, so a 6 weight would be fun. I know a lot of people fish lower tackle down there. I just fish a little bit heavier tackle, get fish in quickly, and then in the event that I do encounter a trophy fish, I want to be ready for that moment. So down there, same thing. I fish at typically a 6 to 7 foot, 15-pound streamer leader for my streamer setup, and then once again for my top water, I'm rolling out a 10-foot, 12-pound leader down there. Okay. Whitewater. This is my favorite water locally. I've spent a ton of time over on this water, and it's kind of, yeah, I just love it over there. There's a lot of really nice sized fish. It's a healthy stream. And my favorite thing about it is it's so consistent. Fishes so well. So time of year, same thing. It's a warm water system, so you're going to be able to target fish over there in the spring, summer, and fall. Okay. That top left photo there, I just grabbed that fish last Thursday. I was pretty excited. It was my first time I broke 20 inches on a smallmouth locally. I've been looking for a fish like that for quite a few years now, and it finally happened. So I was pumped about that. That ate on top water, so that was really, really cool. Your species in the whitewater are going to be smallmouth bass and carp. I pretty much only target smallmouth out over there. If I'm having a really bad day, I might look for some carp to target. Your water level over there, you're gonna see a little bit higher CFS is appropriate, what I think, to fish over there. It's a really fast moving body of water. It's the fastest river in the state of Indiana. So there's a lot of elevation change, so the water is moving pretty quick. So you're gonna see like a higher CFS level there, but it's much more fishable at a higher CFS level. There's a lot of sand over there. It tends to clear out, and like when you hit good conditions, it's very, very clear, like gin clear. And it's quite a beautiful stream when it's in really, really good condition. What flies I like to use over there, once again, bait fish patterns, that's huge over there. And then top water works really, really well. I don't use a whole lot of crawdad patterns over there. I left that off the list. I just don't see a whole lot of crawdad action over there. The popper fishing this season has been lights out. I've been catching, I've done a bunch of guide trips over there. I'd say about 80% of the fish caught this season have been on top water since summer started, which is really, really fun. Over there, definitely I'm preferring to use a 9-foot 7-weight because it is bigger water, and you typically might be throwing some bigger flies for these bigger fish. And same thing with the leaders as all my other setups. The Whitewater has a lot of the awesome log jams. If you see that top right photo there in the little collage, there's just a ton of wood to hold a fish, and it's crazy how much wood is on that river. And then that bottom left photo there, that was caught, I think that was like early April this year, or maybe even late March. It was actually below, it was below 30 degrees when we started the float in the morning. And I had no hopes for the day. And that springtime window is weird. If you hit fish at the right time, regardless of what the temperature is, sometimes you're going to catch fish. I think we caught like 20 fish that day, which is crazy to me. So I learned a lot of things this spring, getting out there fishing really early spring that surprised me about fish's activity over there. So yeah, that's the Whitewater. Once again, that's my favorite stream locally, personally. Let's see here. Oh, okay. Jumping back over Brookville Tailwater. This is a fun one. They stock that with trout for anglers' enjoyment. It is a put and take fishery, so if you see people taking fish out, that's what they're there for. It's hard to get upset when that's the case. I would like to find some bigger holdovers in that system sometimes, and you do, but the fish are stocked for people to eat. So just keep that in mind when you go over there and see people taking fish out. The species over there are gonna be brown trout and rainbow trout. I don't really fish at anything above 4 feet. I find it gets really tricky to wade over there. It is quite slippery, so if you have studs or felt, I would highly recommend that. I'm always surprised how slick it is over there. I always just wear my rubber soles, and I am sliding all over the place. My buddies are always laughing at me. So yeah, what flies to use over there? Midges are probably your most productive nymphs if you're going to be nymphing. I typically will use a size 10 or 18 black or red zebra midge on my nymph rig. That seems to be really, really productive. Hoppers in the summertime can be really fun. You can do a hopper dropper fishing over there, throw your hopper out there, and then run, you know, 18 inches of fluorocarbon with 6X on it and throw a midge off the back of it. You'd be surprised how productive that can be. And then bait fish patterns for your streamer fishing there. Preferred rods for this river system. I like my 9'5" weight for nymphing and doing dry flies, and then my 9'6" weight for streamer fishing and my 9'7" weight for streamer fishing. Preferred leader here, it just totally depends on the situation. You get whatever application you're doing is going to dictate your leader vastly. So yeah, most of my photos that I have from the tailwater are from the winter months. So it's quite a bit cooler. Like I said, I usually fish that over there in the winter once smallmouth is done. So that's Brookville over there. Yes.
Ted, I have a question.
Yep.
It's the question comes from Joe Cruz. It says,
Okay.
do you have to float the whitewater and found locations? Do I have to float the whitewater and found locations to where he can only wade? So I guess he's asking if you can float it or you can wade it. He wants to know that.
Yeah, so the whitewater is a little bit bigger. So like if you are gonna wade it, you should have multiple locations in mind if you want to make a full day out of it where you want to go, because it really works well for like that 2 or 3 hours in the evening, 2 or 3 hours in the morning. Just pick one spot where there's like bridge access and hop in and wade that little bit of stretch. Because what will happen is you'll come up on a stretch and it'll only be what I consider like fishable water for a little bit, and then you kind of fish that stretch for 2 or 3 hours and you're done covering that area. If you want to make a full day out of it, have a couple different locations in mind to hop in between. I tend to float it a lot, just because if I'm going to take a whole day, I'd just like to put a boat in and float, 8 or 9 miles of river water and cover some serious water. So I hope that answers your question.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here.
I do have another question. Do you want to take it?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll take it.
Let me get back to it.
Yeah. Is this regarding Brookville or?
It says it's for whitewater.
Okay.
For whitewater, it is mostly fishing from a boat, or there is wading, which you've already answered.
Yep.
Any better sections of the river? I'm assuming he's talking about wading.
Yeah. So I mean,
what is the best target location for smallmouth?
Target location. What does that mean? Like what part of the water, or like where in the river, or what for that one?
Yeah, I believe that's what he's talking about. What part of the water?
Yeah. So I always look for structure. So rock is a big one. I find like a lot of our local fish are hanging around rocks. So like boulders or big slabs under the water, or just rockiness in general. Like even like gravel gets smallmouth in an area. you don't want to see a lot of slack water with mud and sand. So you want to have good structure, so rock, etc. And then what was the first part of that question? Sorry. Was there a first part of that question or no?
Yeah, there was. I
What
had to
was that?
unmute because I
Yeah.
muted myself
You
again.
are the internet.
Okay. For the whitewater, it's mostly fishing from a boat, or is there wading? Any better sections of the river?
Okay, yeah. So I will honestly say this to you. I've floated almost that whole entire river, and I've never said I would never come back to a stretch of the water. It's the whole thing fishes so well. And that's what's awesome about that system is I have yet to find a stretch of water from floating, wading that looked good on maps or whatever I've never said like I'm never doing that again. I always want to revisit spots. That's what ends up happening because the water looks so good in so many different places on that system. So
Okay,
I
great.
hope that answers
All right.
that question.
That's all the questions I have for now.
Okay, cool. No, I'll hop back in here. So another system in our area is the Great Miami River. This one I have not spent a lot of time exploring. The main reason is it's such a big river system. It's really wide. So from a like kind of like an angling perspective, at least with a fly rod, where you want to pick out sections of river, it's kind of challenging in regards to that. I've floated it a couple times and you zigzag across that thing and almost like double your distance of your float from going to one bank to the next, trying to get to spots that look good. But it is a great smallmouth fishery, and it's an awesome carp fishery as well. Once again, it's a warm water fishery, so you're going to be spring, summer, and fall on this guy. Your species there are smallmouth bass, carp, and hybrid striped bass. So you can catch hybrid striped bass down towards where the Whitewater and the GMR meet right before they hit the Ohio. That's a pretty good spot to do that as well. This is a much bigger river system, so you're going to see an appropriate fishing level for this is much higher. I would say 1500 CFS, which sounds crazy, or below is fine. It's just a massive river. It holds so much water. Over there, what flies to use? Bait fish patterns, crawdad patterns, poppers, kind of the same program there. You want to use it at least a 7 weight over there just because the size of the water, you just need to be able to cover as much water as you can. So being able to drive your fly and cast further is a huge advantage over there. Same thing with your leaders, running the gamut there from your 6 to 10 foot leaders. I don't have a ton of intel on the GMR based on my, lack of fishing over there. I do have a lot of customers that do fish over there and do quite well. It is just a big kind of daunting river system to target on a fly rod. So yeah, that's the GMR. Okay, and then come on, computer. Oh shoot. Okay, so I decided to throw this in for fun. My top 5 smallmouth flies currently. This is always changing, of course, because I'm always trying different things. But we'll run through my top 5 favorite smallmouth flies here to wrap up the presentation. So yeah, enjoy these. These are in no particular order. I can't rank these. It just depends on the application. So it's not literally like number one's my all-time favorite fly. Just my top flies right now. Number 1 on the list is purple and white bucktail fly. I use a 1/0 or 2/0 hook for this fly. And the fly ends up being about 4 to 5 inches when I finish tying it. So all it is just a couple sections of white bucktail and purple bucktail with a ton of flash, a lot of flash. So I use the pearl polar flash and the black polar flash from Hairline. That stuff's really cool. That just gives this fly a great, what I would consider shad look to it with that purple top. And the profile of it looks very shaddy in the water. And the whitewater, if you ever go over there and fish, the amount of shad swimming around is absolutely mind blowing. So those fish are ready to eat shad if you get it in front of them. And this is unweighted, so it's a great fly to fish on an intermediate line. You can get that fly to kick and jive back and forth in the water. So that's really fun to fish these flies for smallmouth. And it's a good striper fly. Sorry about that. Striper eat a lot of shad too. So very versatile fly for your warm water around here. Let's see here. Why does it keep doing that? Sorry. Okay, number 2, double barrel popper. I like the size 2 in these, in every color. I fish black, chartreuse, white, blue, orange, you name it. The reason why I'm a huge fan of this particular popper is the foam head that Flyman has developed for these double barrel poppers is incredibly durable. So it holds up to a lot of fish. It also bounces off rocks really, really well, as opposed to a cork popper that might break on that. Also, the double barrel itself sits really well in the water, and it also chugs really well through the water. It digs every time. You hardly ever have an issue where when you pull to dig the popper that it skips across the surface of the water. So you get really nice control of the fly with this one. Huge fan of those. This has become a new favorite of mine, one because I caught my biggest smallmouth on this fly.
What do you mean by double barrel?
It's just the name of the brand. So if you look at the head of it, it looks like a double barrel shotgun. I think that's where they're getting the name from. I'm not exactly sure on that, but that's what I would assume. So it's got two it looks like that. But yeah. So if you go ahead and look that up online. Just look at the front end of that. Sorry, I don't have a photo of it handy, and I don't have my fly box sitting next to me. And see what that looks like. It looks like you're looking down the barrel of like a side-by-side shotgun. So hope that answers that. This is another one of my current favorites. It's called Old Mr. Wiggly. This is developed kind of by the Tight Lines guys out of Wisconsin. They catch a lot of big fish on it, and I happen to catch my biggest smallmouth on this recently. This is a really fun fly to fish. I love this one. So you can cast this out. You can skate it across the surface of the water. You can dead drift it, and you can also kind of chug it along, and it kind of makes almost like a popping noise. So you can get a lot of versatile presentations with this fly. You'll find this works really well in like low water situations for smallmouth fished on a 10-foot leader. So you can really sneak up on fish with this because it's foam and it lands really quietly in the water. Very low water, like low flow summer situations, it's a great fly to target fish on. And a lot of smallmouth you'll see will change how kind of they eat this fly. You're not going to notice a ton of explosions on the surface with this fly. You're going to notice a lot of sipping because it kind of sneaks up on them and it looks very, very like realistic in the water. And they eat with confidence when they eat this fly. So they just come up and sip it because they're like, yeah, that's real. That's not fake. I'm not getting myself into a situation that could end up poorly. So yeah, this is a great low water smallmouth fly. That's a size 2 that I like to use for that one. Next, Todd's Wiggle Minnow. This is an awesome fly. It's an Umpqua pattern. It's a size 1/0. This is just a piece of foam tubing on a kind of a bent shank hook. And when you fish this, I would recommend fishing this on an intermediate line. I think it's best fished when it's being pulled just below the surface. Because what'll happen is the fly will like vibrate back and forth as it's coming in through the water, and has a really unique presentation if you do fish it with a intermediate line and pull the fly below the surface. Because it is foam, so it's going to float. This is also a fun one to cast behind like logs and then strip it a little bit, and then what you do is just pause and let the fly come back up to the surface, and you can bring it over the top of the log. You can get a lot of cool, interesting presentations with this fly. This has like been in my top 5 for years now. The Stay Hungry, it's just a craft for Clouser variation. It's just a great fly for targeting fast moving runs for smallmouth and striper as well. It always gets the job done. Great summertime fishing fast water in a run. You can pick up a lot of fish on this fly. It's just mimicking a bait fish and has lead eyes, so it rides hook up, and you can tick the bottom of those runs and get it down to where the fish are hanging out. So that's my current list of top 5 favorite smallmouth flies. That list is always changing, so it could be different next week. Who knows? Depends on what's going on. So yeah, I'll open it up for Q&A. I don't know how we do this on here with everybody, but maybe someone can chime in.
Yeah, everybody, if you have a question, just pop it in the Q&A window and we'll ask it. There are a few questions that people sent me privately here. So from Walter Weller, he wants to know, do you fish for grand trevallies when you're in Belize?
I wish. Oh man, that's high on my bucket list. We fish for Jack Crevalle down there. There are not any GTs that I know of there. So GTs are going to be more an Indo-Pacific species, but that is high on my list to fish for GTs. So.
And from Tim Guilfoyle, he wants to know, what about tarpon off of Belize?
Yes. The answer is yes. There, you will be able to target tarpon very effectively down there whenever you go. There's obviously different times of the year where you have your migratory fish moving through, and then there's always resident fish that you can target no matter what, including like decent sized baby tarpon, getting up into 60-pound range, which is pretty cool, and then your migratory fish getting up and over 100 to 200 pounds. So that's a great place to catch tarpon.
I had one question about the whitewater. I've been fishing it a lot lately.
Hi,
do you try to avoid the Green River canoe and kayaker people, or do you just go right through them, or what?
The Green River, sorry.
I meant Green Acres, my bad.
Oh, so you're
That
fishing.
canoe on Kennedy Road.
Yeah, so you're fishing a little bit lower down than like the Brookville area. Is that correct? Is that what it sounds like?
Yes.
Yeah. And are you asking like if you would get a boat through them to get a canoe?
No, I'm just asking, like, do you fish through that section, or do you try to avoid that section where they're doing like their 8 and 3 mile float?
Yeah. So this is the ongoing issue with pretty much any of our major streams is the liveries put an insane amount of pressure on the water with their canoe traffic. You got a ton of different liveries on the Little Miami. The Whitewater, you got Green Acres, you got Morgan's, you got Whitewater. So normally I try and fish only during the week. But since coronavirus started, that doesn't matter anymore because I go out there and it feels like I always have to remind myself what day it is because it doesn't matter anymore. It feels like every day is a weekend for people, and the liveries have been just cranking people down. So normally during the week is usually a safe bet outside of coronavirus. So I do try to plan my fishing around that, so I'm not having to deal with boat traffic. So the answer is yes, I try to avoid that, but it's proving hard this year.
All right, we got a couple more questions here. Joe Cruz wants to know, when you're targeting smallies using a sink fly line, how long of a leader while you're on the whitewater?
For whitewater, I use whenever I'm using a sinking line, I use a shorter leader because I want my fly to be in the closest contact with the fly line as possible, because that way you're going to get a quicker response from your fly to your fly line. So if you can shorten up that distance, you're going to be able to target water quicker and get down quicker than having that big bow of a long leader between your fly line and where your fly is. So I usually try and have a 6-foot leader is my target. I like to fish like a 6-foot or even like a 5-foot leader. I keep it nice and short so that everything happens a lot quicker. There's just a direct contact almost. So yeah.
Awesome, thanks. And then Paul Duzing asks, where do you put in and take out while fishing the whitewater?
So over there, I like I said before coronavirus started, I would usually just get a canoe from Morgan's. They were offering 2 different floats over there. They have their 7 mile, I think, and they were offering a 5 mile. They're only doing their 7 mile this year. And then you have Green Acres and Whitewater that offer floats as well, free put in and takeouts. Our biggest problem locally is finding access points. Our water laws in the tri-state area are pretty poor in terms of angler friendliness in regards to waiting and just getting access. So yeah, your best bet is to use the access points for the liveries, or try and maybe get friends with a property owner. I haven't tried that yet, but I'm thinking about getting to that point where I knock on a door and say, "Can I use your property to put in a boat?" Because if you're nice about it, a lot of people are pretty friendly when it comes to that, or even offer to pay them something for the year. You know, never hurts to try.
All right, that's all the questions we have right now. If there's any other questions, please type them in the Q&A. Here's one. Do you fish in Brown or Adams County?
So out east,
from
is that
Phil Percival.
is that Adams County out east, not Brown County in Indiana?
I don't know. Phil, can you clarify that? I don't know which one you're talking about. Phil Pursley, you asked, do you fish Brown or Adams counties? And we're just wanting to know where you're talking about specifically.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's a. Sorry, just want to make sure I'm talking about something. I know what I'm talking about.
Let's see. Mike Arnold said he's got a question here. Mike, are you just want me to tell people that they can look up the double barrel poppers on the Orvis link, and there's a good photo of the head?
Yeah, you can see them there.
Okay, Lou Class wants to clarify leaders for streamers. He's asking, are those tapered leaders or straight leaders?
So I'll give you my leader formula. Who is this for? Sorry, what's his name?
Lou Class.
Okay.
Lou.
Yeah, Lou. So here's my leader formula for my streamer fishing. I just buy spools of fluorocarbon. I love fluorocarbon for streamer fishing because it sinks faster. So what I do is I do 2 feet of 30-pound to 2 feet of 25-pound to 2 feet of 15-pound. And then if you need to do a little bit longer, I'll do 3 feet of the 15 pounds. That's my leader formula. So I taper it down, and that works really, really well for me.
All right, Mike, if you have another question, I'm not for sure what it is. If you want to just retype it in there instead of just typing in my earlier question, that'd be helpful for me. Any other questions, guys? Okay, Phil Persley typed back. He's asking about Adams County, Ohio, and Brown County, Ohio.
Okay, gotcha. So you're probably talking about, I think, the Scioto systems out there. I have not spent a lot of time out there. I wish I had. I literally have not fished those areas. I know the Scioto, I think Ohio brush creeks out there as well are supposed to be phenomenal, like absolutely phenomenal. And I need to go out there more. But yeah, I know that they're awesome. I know that. So I don't have any other info on that. Sorry.
Not a problem. All right, guys, if there's not any more questions, I guess we'll go ahead and thank Ted for being our speaker, and we'll move on into the next section, which is going to be the
door prizes.
Giveaways of the door prizes. Yeah.
The door prizes.
So let me steal the ball back from you, Ted.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ted.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate
Thanks a lot, Ted.
being able to do this for you all. So I'm sure I'll see some of you soon.
Yep, I'm sure some of us will be stopping in.
Okay, yeah, come say hi.
Okay.
So,
Oh, Walter Weller said, "Great show, Ted. Thanks."
appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Walter's our vice president.
Okay, good. No problem. Are you
All right, Sheila,
are you guys
my
good if I
screen?
hop off? Sorry.
Yep, I can see it.
Yeah,
Looks like
absolutely,
Tim
yeah.
Guilfoyle, number 1. Patrick
Hold
Rarity,
on,
number
Sheila.
2. Oops.
Sheila, hold on.
Hold on.
I didn't do the randomizer yet. This is just the order
Oh.
that people signed up for.
Okay.
So we had 57 people that signed up for the prizes. We got 4 prizes today that we're going to be giving away as door prizes. The first is going to be a $50 gift card. The second is going to be this 10-car rod. The third prize is going to be this set of snippers right here. And the fourth prize is going to be this NKFF emblazoned fly box with a baker's dozen flies in it. So without further ado, we'll do the randomizer now. Let's see here. Randomize. All right, here's our winners.
Okay.
We're going to have Tom Tavetin with the $50 gift card. We're going to have Luke Class with the Tenkara fly rod. Well, I guess it's not a Tenkara rod. We're going to have Eric Weinberg with the nippers. And David Votaw with the fly box. And we'll work on getting that stuff out. I'd like to thank Tim. I had a backlog of prizes. I was waiting until we met with everybody, and he came over and got them and did some hand delivery. So thanks for that, Tim.
Yay to winners. We'll get them to you.
All right. So as far as like for just the closing, just to let everybody know, we haven't quite made our decision as far as our September meeting. We're hoping for a face-to-face. Hopefully you've answered the questions for the survey that Tim sent out. Don't forget about the waterfowl auction and place your bid if you can, if you're interested in it. And just be looking for the email from Tim in regards to what we're going to be doing for September, whether we're going to be doing virtual or face-to-face. It really just depends on what the recommendations from the state are as to what we're going to do. Mike had a question here. It says, not sure why Great Miami question didn't get to you all. Yeah. I think Ted's already gone. He's already
Well,
out.
he answered my question on the Great Miami.
Oh. Okay. So maybe we'll have to send that message out to him and ask him to respond to that because he's already gone. So does anybody else have any other questions or comments?
Great. Thanks to everybody for signing on and coming on.
All right. And hopefully we'll be seeing you guys soon. He said I just sent it twice. Bye, everybody. Mike, I don't know why you didn't get your message through. I'm seeing it now, but this is the first time.